You're listening to Mind, Body, Home with your host, Sarah Ann. Well before my training as a Feng Shui practitioner and interior designer, I knew that the key to creating a feel-good home was by engaging the senses. But what I didn't know, and what recent research has shown, is that in doing so, you also increase your brain health, gut health, and longevity. My guest today is Cindy Garreton, and she has become fascinated by this research and has been exploring ways in which we can increase our health and longevity through creative expression and self-cultivation. When our brain experiences beauty through things like the visual arts, music, cuisine, texture, architecture, it literally creates new neural pathways in our brain signaling, "Give me some more of that, please." And when we follow through, even just for 30 minutes a month, research is showing that we add 10 years to our life expectancy. That, to me, is pretty fascinating. Cindy is a Feng Shui expert, award-winning interior designer, and the founder of Luminescence International Feng Shui School. She has been teaching Feng Shui certification for over 20 years while integrating these principles into her interior design work. Cindy's mission in sharing and teaching this work is to help raise the frequency of the planet through empowering others to improve their personal environment and personal chi. Her passion is teaching her certification course for consultants and creating new classes with contemporary concepts. Please enjoy my conversation with Cindy Garreton. I'm excited to dive in with you today on this topic of neuroaesthetics. And I love that you're a fellow interior designer like myself, also practicing in Feng Shui.
Mhm.
And so we certainly understand the importance of how an environment looks and feels.
Mm.
But you have really dug into the data and the science behind all of that.
It is really exciting because, as you know, feng shui is self cultivation. It's really being balanced with everything within you and around you. And so I really emphasize self cultivation in all my classes, but how you empower yourself affects you in every walk of life, in every aspect of your life. And in feng shui, we bring awareness to all these different areas of life in our physical surroundings, and this makes it a little more tangible and approachable. So I, I'm always diving into different ways for people to really find ways to empower and create a really healthy life more than anything. And I read this wonderful book that that got me started on this path called Your Brain on Art. And a huge light bulb went off in my head because they just did an amazing job with all these studies. It was Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. And what they did was compiled many, many different studies in this area. And her husband is a neuroscientist, Susan Magsamen, and he has studied things about neurons in our brains for over 4 decades. And he's director of the John Hopkins School of Medicine. And there's over 800 billion neurons in our brains. And it's kind of crazy because they look like little trees. When we talk about nature, and we have these connections with nature and trees in our lives and getting out there. And little do we know that this is what's happening in our body constantly, and how the trees have their underground networks that are constantly, speaking to the fungi and taking care of other plants around them, the mother trees, and they have these networks going on. We have these networks in our brain that are constantly doing this also. And little did we know that our brains are not just for intellectual filing. Our brains love the senses. And that's what they've proven in these studies, that for brain health and for neuroplasticity to create a longer life and a healthier life, it's really important that we honor our senses. And Sarah, you know that that's what we do in feng shui. We look at all the different things around you through color and texture and sound and all the things that really affect an individual when they walk into their home. We want this to have them feel like they're being embraced when they walk into their home. They're getting a big hug as they walk in because they see things that they love. And all of this excites them. And in exciting their brain, the brain speaks to the vagus nerve, goes down to the digestive system, and your immune system is in your digestive system. So you get a stronger immunity the stronger your brain is and the more exercise you give it. So it's pretty exciting that these things that we have known as practitioners and interior designers, um, we've appreciated the beauty. We know how much it means to connect with something in your home. But now we have scientific proof that this is true, and it actually creates longevity for people because of the connection of the brain and the digestive system. So it's pretty incredible that we can, for example, going to an art gallery for 20 minutes, getting lost in the color, because color is a frequency. We're always working with frequencies in Feng Shui through color, through texture. And when we're on a frequency or with a frequency that excites us, our brains are just working away at these new neural pathways, and they're just kind of clearing clutter and getting rid of the old pathways that don't suit them anymore. So it's pretty cool that connecting with a certain color or pattern or texture can do that for us. It's a pretty wonderful thing. So that was my first aha moment in reading this book. Another thing is nature. We know that bringing nature into our home is huge for all of us, for our health, for our well-being. And in Feng Shui, we use the 5 elements. We use symbols, colors, a lot of different things to bring it in and balance it. And they've known this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And E.O. Wilson brought it into the mainstream in the 80s, named it biophilia, and bringing nature into the homes in a biophilic way, and how that was very healthy for us. But with these brain studies, what they found is being in nature and experiencing the awe of nature, being out there and just feeling that beauty and looking at an incredible sunset, or listening to the sound of the waves, or being in the forest and just looking up at the canopy, all the things that just really, really move you and create that awe feeling inside you is what it's all about. And that's when the brain clicks in and starts its neuroplasticity and starts making new little routes in the brain. And then when you repeat that, the more and more you repeat it, the stronger they get. And they've proven that 30 minutes a month can increase your life 10 years. So if you're really practicing this and, looking at it as a powerful thing to do for your health, mind, body, and dwelling, um, it's it's incredible, right?
I
Um,
love that, and I love what you said about, working with color and color being, a frequency that we do often work with in Feng Shui, but how it is when you're looking at something that excites you or your brain, it's sort of doing this internal decluttering, and we talk about decluttering on the surface level, but to know that just by what you're looking at visually or what you're smelling or what you're hearing is also doing this like internal decluttering process. That's really fascinating.
isn't it amazing? Yeah, it's mental clutter, but it's also physical clutter. And people have always known how good it is for you to go for a walk in nature, go to the galleries and just get lost in creativity. But now they're proving all these things. And further research is showing that intention, the brain also really loves that. And, our brains they were designed to keep us alive, put in the survival mode, fight or flight. They say the old thing is if there's a tiger behind you, you go into fight or flight, and, your whole body gets uptight and you're in the sympathetic mode of your nervous system at that time. And in order to get yourself into the parasympathetic mode of your nervous system, that's when you do your breathing or your meditation or your calming, because our digestive systems can't respond when they're in that fight or flight mode. They absolutely shut down. And so if somebody's having trouble with their digestive system and they're feeling a lot of anxiety, that's probably why. So a lot of these practices for brain health can help you get into this parasympathetic mode for being more relaxed and just knowing the fact that you're helping your entire body. So going back to intention, I just completed a course that I taught on this, and you can combine neural arts with intention, and using that in feng shui is, as far as I'm concerned, is priceless. And I can't even tell you, because it was kind of a research class that I did to see how people would fare and how they liked it. And it's been super amazing because we took the time to do different projects. It was a 2-hour class and worked on some art and some neuro arts that I've learned how to create. And we put our intentions into them, used colors from the different guas for different intentions, created things for adjustments in feng shui. And it's been brilliant. It's just been brilliant.
I love that idea of using intention. I'm familiar with the nervous system in doing psilocybin and mycelium with medicinal mushrooms and how those also create those neural pathways. But the thing is, with anyone who does a journey like that, the intention piece is the most important piece because the mushrooms can do their whole network thing and rewiring and all of that, but without that intention piece, it's kind of just like taking something for fun, right? Like, not really doing the real work.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And supposedly, when you're doing neuroaesthetics and neuro arts, part of it is that you can just get lost in it without an intention. Getting lost in it is okay too. But my idea, like you, was to bring that intention in, because I thought, "Okay, if you do that, I mean, how powerful is that?" So it's proved to be pretty amazing. And since then, I found another book of another neuroscientist that has studied that, in fact, using intention. And so all these scientists are jumping on board with things that we've known for a very long time, but didn't realize how deeply it went into the cells of our body, you know?
what I think I'm finding more common too, you mentioned how scientists are jumping on board, is that there seems to be this sort of merging point of science and intuition.
Hmm.
Right? Like, we're really bringing those 2 together because when you were speaking about the course or the workshop you just did, I did one similarly, but it was not with intention. The
Hmm.
only intention was letting go and feeling what came to you, so it was more of an intuitively guided and there was a term she used, but we're just kind of drawing, and then you'd color inside of them. And the overall goal was to do it very intuitively, and then at the end, what was the message you received from what you drew? Like, what did you see in it? What did the colors represent, right? Like,
It's
same
another way. Yeah.
and I thought that was really great, but I love what you're saying is, like, bringing that intention and that science into it. I'm seeing that across the board. There's a lot of merging of the intuitive with the science backing it up, which is really that's how you know we're, like, on the cusp of the next thing, right? We're, like, evolving in such a way.
Exactly. I think the next 10 years are going to be like we can't even imagine the things that we're going to find out about how we use our brains. And maybe we'll push it up that we use 50% of our brains. Who knows? But I think there's going to be a lot of learning taking place. And if we can get everybody more intentional, that'll be a more beautiful planet, to really think through everything that they do in their lives and make their choices in that way is pretty exciting, I think.
You mentioned some different practices. What are some of those practices? And do you use these with your design clients and your feng shui clients, or is this sort of like a totally different direction that you offer?
Um, Well, I'm starting to use them with all my feng shui clients, and I have to say that I have practiced this most of my life in my years of doing interior design too. It's important to me that when you're creating a room for a client that, we've selected colors and different things. It's important for me that that client really resonates and lights up with everything that we're using. And that's the part of the brain that goes, okay, I really like this. I'm feeling this. This is the frequency. I'm in this frequency, it's there. And I think that in feng shui, when we're thinking in that way, I don't really suggest an adjustment. I mean, there are some adjustments that we just have to do, but I always educate the client so that they're empowered. But I also, if I'm giving them advice on something that could really work to balance, it has to be a color that they are really excited about, and you know how it is. You might give them one, two, three ideas, maybe the fourth idea is when they go, that's it. And when that moment comes, that's when you've really connected with the senses and the brain. And so in that respect, yes, I have worked that way for a very long time. But as far as other practices, I would say it's going to be a huge part of what I teach in my curriculums from now on for sure. And it also brings in music. And we know how music lifts a space. You can get lost in music, it can just lift you and your mood and the whole energy of your home. So that's another piece. There's the nature part of it. There's the music part. There's the art. There's the color. There's the texture, the feel of things. So all of these really make a big difference.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's very client dependent, really based on what they're desiring and what they're wanting for themselves. I'm sure that, it kind of changes. And some senses might resonate with other people differently, right? So
Oh, absolutely.
someone who's overwhelmed by scent is
Yeah.
not a person who loves candles, right?
Exactly. Or even a water fountains or, the sound of water is overwhelming. It can be to some people. So, yeah, it's all about what they love and what they connect with and resonate with. And that's what makes the big difference in our adjustments. And that's where the brain ties in. There was another neuroscientist that did a study on Cirque du Soleil. He recorded part of the audience's brain activity while they were there at the performance for Cirque du Soleil. And they went into this incredible state of awe while they were watching. And what they found was the perspectives of the people that watched this program and where their brain activity was being recorded, their perceptions of themselves and the world changed. And don't ask me how his name was Bo Lotto, and he also did a TED Talk. And, how those studies and how that works, I can't tell you because I'm not a neuroscientist. But what they found was when we are experiencing awe, differences between people become irrelevant. It enables us to embrace more diversity. I mean, what do we need in this world right now? So he actually proved that. And it's just I just feel like it's what we need in this world. It gives me goosebumps right now.
Yeah, that resonates so much. And the word, when you were saying that, I kind of had this sense like I've been there. I've been at a symphony, I've been at a musical theater performance. And the word that came to me was connectedness. Like you just feel this connectedness to the people around you, to the actors on the instruments on the stage. There really is something to that. So I love that it's been proven because I have definitely felt that. And I will say, you talked about music. Music brings me to tears all the time. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, for a long time, I thought maybe I'm just sensitive. Then I thought, well, maybe I have like, unprocessed grief that needs to come out. And that might be true. I think we all have some grief deep inside that we haven't all let out yet. But I can just hear a song, I can, start to sing, and I get very emotional. And my kids think it's funny. They're like, "Mom, are you crying again?" Or they'll look at me, they'll hear me, like, try to talk, and my voice will be a little shaky, like, they know. And I don't know what it is, but music for me, like, that's my heightened sense is music and sound. It really resonates with me strongly.
See, that's very well said, and that's your brain, and it's not like it has to be in grief. It can be in pure joy.
Yeah,
And
that's why I'm
and
happy that we're having part letting me reframe that
exactly.
way to
We've
not
got a new story here. I love that so much. Oh my gosh, yep. So you have that ability to just go into that state of awe, and I know what you're talking about. I do it too with certain music and, yeah, really incredible. And architecture, I mean, when you see certain architecture, it's just like, "Really? How did they even come up with this and build this?" I mean, Frank Gehry, I mean, some of the things that he does. I recently was in Bilbao in, Spain, going to the Getty Museum there, and everywhere you walk inside and out, you're just like, "How did this even happen?" Your mouth is wide open, and it's just like magic. And I think that's a good word for awe, creating that magic, and that's healthy for us. Can't we applaud that?
Yes, absolutely. We started to touch on self-cultivation a little bit at the beginning of our conversation, and I wanna hear a little bit more about that. That resonates, again, with me a lot. I think I've been in that state of self-cultivation for, really over a decade. When I first had my children, that's when I really felt this, like, desire and almost I can't think of the right word, like, more than a desire, like, a need to self-actualize, right? Like, really go deep and live life the way it's meant to be lived, right? And it really wasn't until I integrated Feng Shui into my life that it all sort of came together. Like you were saying, that book you read, that's what it took for me too. I read one book and I was like, "Oh, it all makes sense now." And so that's really where this podcast sprang from, was just that the home, the environment, what we visually take in is, that missing piece to the mind body, because we finally accepted mind and body are connected, but we still seem to be missing that home piece. And so that's the message I'm trying to spread. So I'm curious for you. I know that self-cultivation is important to you too, but talk a little bit about that and what that means to you.
The audience can't see me, but I've been nodding my head up and down the whole time you've been talking. And I love what you said. And we have similar stories because I was doing interior design for a lot of years and I needed more to it. I needed a deeper meaning, just like you. I had studied a lot of holistic things, but that's what feng shui really fulfilled. And when you look at feng shui, it is self cultivation because you're looking around your house at the different parts of you intuitively, the things that you want to create in your life. And how cool is it that we can actually map that out in our houses and pull out of our hearts what it is that we want and desire, and then create it through color, bringing nature in through the way we arrange. I mean, the art of placement in the home. So for me, feng shui is self cultivation. It's bringing that out of you. And now that I know about the brain studies, and the importance of intention, because you really can't stress intention enough when you're teaching students about feng shui. It takes a while for them to really understand that whole concept and how important it is. Just like when we talked about how people, what they resonate with and how important that is when you put it into your home, because self cultivation is, it's personal development. You mentioned how important intuition is. All of these things are like all the little seeds you pick up to put together the whole puzzle. And feng shui is a way to really develop yourself through your dwelling, I think. And don't you just wish everybody on this earth knew about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is I love talking about it and I love teaching it. And I've actually pulled back a little bit from using the term feng shui so much because to me it's really
I
just
noticed
become
that.
It's really just become like a tool in the toolkit. There's so many other approaches because I think, relatively speaking, Feng Shui is newer here in the US, right? I mean, we're talking 30, 40 years. It's really been here. And I think it's even more recent that more people are starting to know about it.
Mhm.
Because I think collectively there's just such an awakening happening that people are just looking for all ways that they can self-cultivate, right? And
Right.
so I love telling client like, when I get a client, I'm not excited that, "Ooh, I got a client," I'm excited like, "Ooh, what are we gonna find and what are we gonna learn and how am I gonna, like, help guide this person to cultivate what they want in their life," right? And I
Mhm.
think that the light bulb moment for most clients is when I use the analogy of a vision board. And
Uh-huh.
you imagine your home and your life as one giant vision board.
Yep.
What you have in your home, would you put that on your vision board? And
Yes.
what really makes you look at your space from a very different lens when you pose it to them that way. And vision boards are that. They are a creative project, right? Like who doesn't love creating
Absolutely.
a board? I
Absolutely. It's wonderful brain exercise to do a vision board too, you know?
Yeah, but I think when they hear it that way, they're like, "Oh, so that's what feng shui is." Because I think the feng shui still has this like mystical,
Mhm.
it was only
Yeah.
reserved for certain, people but I'm trying to make it very tactical and very tangible for people to just understand and implement because it really can be an easy implementation. And sometimes when you look
Absolutely.
at yours and all this, that
Yes.
gets overwhelming, but you don't need to have all of that to get started.
No, not at all. No. And get them engaged and again, just knowing the true meaning of intention and like you said, really using their intuition and going in, doing that vision board and really figuring out what it is that means the most to them,
Yeah,
you know?
again, it's that merge point of intuition and intention, right? So I love that. I think that's the theme of today's today's episode.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
You mentioned that 30 minutes a month adds 10 years of life. And you have a monthly course or a workshop?
My course has been it's been monthly on the new moon, and then we have another gathering to look at what people have created, and it's just been really, really fun. So I'm continuing it. There's gonna be a membership with this, with that kind of emphasis in it. We'll talk about other, the holistic design, but we're going to be really diving into a lot of good brain health, and people will have different questions about their homes and different things like that. But my main emphasis is going to be getting that 30 minutes a month in for longevity. So people can fulfill that and have fun at the same time and hopefully learn something about themselves and their homes. So that's what we're doing.
I love that. I think that a lot of people will be interested in something like that because it's, like you said, it's fun and engaging. And who doesn't want to add 10 years of life, right?
Exactly. I know. I mean, let's see, are we going to run 10 miles or are we going to sit down and create something?
Well, yeah, I like it when you put it that way. Yeah, I love it. What else do you have coming up? Do you have any other courses that you offer?
I do. I have a certification course. I just finished up with one and I'm starting another one in August. And it's a 6-month course, and I'm live every week with the students. And we spend an hour to 2 hours. It just depends. And then we have two intensives where we spend all day together, really diving in on different case studies. And we do a professional feng shui consultation. And then I follow up with 3 different case studies as they go into their profession. So, yeah, that starts in August and it's really fun. I meet all kinds of beautiful people that become my friends and from all over the world. And, I've got a few other things, a Feng Shui 101 class that a lot of people have been asking for that's just for basics and for people who just wanna learn a little bit about it.
Okay, lovely. You offer a lot. You got it all. And you interior design full time too? You're doing all of that
I
as well?
do interior yeah, and it's been very full-time recently because 'cause I've had some really big projects. Um, so, yeah, I work a lot, but I love it.
Well, I'm happy you found your passion. Where can everyone find you?
They can find me at Cindy Garreton Luminescence at gmail.com or on Instagram at Luminescence Feng Shui School. And then LinkedIn is Cindy Garreton Interior Design. So those are a few places.
Yes, I will be sure to add all of them. Everybody will have access to you. Cindy, thanks so much for being on. I'm excited about this. I want to infuse more art and creativity into my life and add some years.
There we go. Thank you, Sarah. It's been a joy.
Links to learn more about Cindy is in today's show notes. I've also included links to a few references that she had mentioned, the book Your Brain on Art by Susan Maximum and Ivy Ross, in addition to Beau Lotto's TED Talk about Cirque du Soleil and how we experience awe. Be sure to check those out if your brain is craving a little bit more on this topic. Please support the Mind, Body, Home podcast by leaving a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. You can always connect with me on social at Jade Scott Design. And just a reminder, the summer moving sale is still going on over at my website, jadescottdesign.com. Right now, take 40% off your entire purchase and receive free shipping. No code is necessary. Your discount is automatically applied at checkout. Again, Jade Scott Design is in a state of transition and evolution, and so to honor my own practice, I am decluttering the shop. A link to the shop is provided in the show notes as well. Until next week, I am sending you so much love and gratitude.